Hello all. So this is a video I felt obligated to make and have also kind of been wary of making for quite some time. But today it's a very hot day and I have a little bit of a cold, so I can't really do tasting notes or reviews or anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this instead. So the problem with doing an introduction to rum kind of video is really the rum part. I mean, you could say, okay, what's the problem with rum as a category? You're just talking about distilled spirits with the base coming from sugarcane, right? Couldn't be any simpler than that. And that's true to some extent, right? Nothing wrong with that. The problem is in the very quick hop to the assumption that that is somehow sufficient or useful without any further distinctions and determinations. Let me put it like this. I imagine there's probably some whiskey folks watching this, right? When you walk into your local liquor store, you're probably used to the scenario of seeing a number of different shelves set up with different kinds of whiskey. You've got your bourbon over here and your rye over here, and they are carefully separated, right? Over here you've got your Scotch whiskey, malts and blends, maybe even some grains thrown in. And again, you're not mixing them together, right? Over here you have got your Irish and your Japanese whiskeys. You've got your world whiskeys. You've got Canadian whiskeys. You see where I'm going with this, and they're all sort of carefully marked out with their own different signs, and then you've got your sort of flavored whiskey liqueurs, right? And they're off in their own section, clearly marked off. You wouldn't sort of mistake them from the other. Some things get a little weird with this. You might see, Jameson orange stuck next to regular Jameson, but for the most part, those are off on their own, right? So imagine a scenario where you walk into your local liquor store and instead of seeing all those different shelves and different signs, you just saw whiskey. Just whiskey. One big long shelf. Maybe the most popular brands are set off to the side, or sort of on top, and everything else is just kind of, hodgepodgey mixed together. So you've got, Aberlour 12 sitting right next to Screwball, that kind of thing. And now imagine that for the last 20 odd years, the most prominent sellers in the whiskey category have been the whiskey liqueurs, which are mixed in all with the others, sitting right next to things which are very driven by integrity, by that do not have sugar and other stuff added, that have accurate age statements and so on. Imagine that those guys are competing with the Screwballs and there's no distinction made between them. And now imagine trying to talk to someone about this category. Imagine them telling you, no, I had a bad night in college where I drank too much Fireball. I don't think whiskey is for me. And that is, think about that for a second. That is the scenario that rum is facing right now, because at the moment, there's plenty of people making absolutely stunning stuff. I've reviewed a ton of it. And sitting right next to it on the shelf is basically sugared up nonsense, the bottle, watered down to 40%, and, with fake age statements, and none of it is sort of marked off. Some of it is marked off as spiced rum and so forth. None of it is marked off as having flavors added, sugars added, anything else. They're just kind of thrown in with the rest. So that is my problem with the idea of doing an introduction to rum in the broad sense. And you're talking about a huge category with enormous amount of different directions to go within it. So yeah, okay, it's all cane based, right? And you're distilling it at some point. Okay, what kind of cane? There's different varietals of cane. What sort of soil? Where are you growing it? What sort of environment? Once you crush your cane, are you making your rum out of the cane juice? Are you boiling up the cane juice to make a syrup? Are you then extracting sugar from the syrup to have molasses and using that to start with? How are you distilling it? How are you fermenting it, first of all? We can talk about yeast all day long, right? We can talk about the addition of acids, dunders, various other tricks like that. How are you distilling it? Are you using a column still? What kind of column still? Is it a short, column still that I could fit, sort of in my condo building, or is it a massive multi-column setup, that's basically fit for producing vodka if they wanted to? Is it pot distill? What kind of pot still? Are you using retorts in addition? And then once it comes off the still, are you aging it or not? How are you aging it? In what sort of environment? When you bottle it, are you adding flavorants? What kind of flavorants? Are you marking that? How are you calculating the age? All of these questions are really kind of important, and all of them kind of get left off when you just do a run of, this is what rum is. Here's 3 rums to try, and so that being said, I am gonna do that. I am just gonna plop down a bunch of rums that I think are worth exploring if you want to kind of know the category. But I did want to spend at least the first couple of minutes problematizing the very idea of doing that, because these things are made everywhere in all kinds of different styles. Okay, rant over. Let's get into this. So I kind of wanted to do my discussion of different styles and bottles to try within those styles. We'll start off with, I think, what constitutes the basics for knowing modern rum, and then we'll do some nerdier stuff towards the end. So let's get started. The first bottle I would say you should probably know if you want to know modern rum is Havana Club. I'm going to go with the 7-year-old, the Añejo. Is this my favorite rum in the world? No, it absolutely isn't. But this is the daddy for an entire range of column and multi-column distilled molasses-based rums, the so-called Cuban or Latin style. This is where it begins. And it's something you just got to know, because everyone else is kind of copying this. When you see, folks in the U.S. Virgin Islands making white rum that has actually been secretly aged in oak and then filtered back in color, they're doing the Cuban thing. So, and it's a worldwide phenomenon, this particular style, and I think this is a good bottle to grab as representative of it. If you have no access to Cuban rums because of the embargo, there's lots and lots of alternatives. I think the Don Q Añejo, they have a 7-year-old too. It's not as good as this, but worth a grab. The Barolito stuff is too expensive. Honestly, even the Bacardi 8 is fine. Again, not as good as this. This is, I think, just a better example of the style, but lots of options there. Next up, something I don't know. Ray Nephew, overproof. This is not optional. If you want to know rum, you got to know this bottle. In Jamaica, this is a religion. This, you got to have a bottle of this around the house. Not just for drinking. This is for chasing away the bad spirits. This is for, putting on your chest when you've got a cold, like I do. In fact, I'm thinking of dabbing some of this on a little bit right after I finish this video. It also makes the greatest highball known to man, the Ray and Ting. And it's just a really, really, really well-made example of what we're going to call a blended rum. A blend, molasses-based, but a blend of column still and pot still rum, which is, again, very, very widespread in style. This Havana Club, all column still, they're pulling it off on different plates and then blending. There's a lot of blending going on in Cuban style rum. This is just, straight off the stills basically, and then blended. So this is one you got. Oh, footnote: if you are a whiskey person watching this, you are going to be thinking to yourself, or really, there's going to be like a little devil on your shoulder telling you to ignore the unaged rums because they can't possibly be good, right? You are wrong, and that little devil is wrong. The unaged rum might be the greatest value category in the world right now, especially Jamaican ones. So do not be put off by the fact that this does not have any oak showing on it. That does not mean it's harsh. I mean, it is 126 proof, but you know, if you've been in whiskey long enough, you know how to deal with that. And it has tons and tons of flavor well before it hits the barrels. That being said, you're probably going to want to grab some aged stuff too, and we'll get into that shortly. Okay, next up, how about an aged blended rum? Doorleys. If you are lucky enough to live near a Total Wine in the U.S., first of all, may God help the smaller liquor stores in your area. But second, you can buy this very bottle here for not a whole lot of money. I think below $30 or something like that. And so basically what this is it's a blended rum. We just talked about that. Blend of pot and column still, molasses based, from Foursquare Distillery in Barbados. If you can find and purchase the upper level Foursquares, the exceptional cask selections, particularly the vintage dated ones, I would go for those. They just tend to be really good. Do not pay secondary prices on any of the Foursquares. Just don't do it. But if you can get them for a reasonable price, grab them. This Doorleys, though, is perfectly adequate to give you a sense of what the style is. If you have no Total Wine nearby, Real McCoy 12-year-old is made at the same distillery. There's also the new RL Seal 10-year-old, which I have not had, but I imagine it's similar in style. Or just, good old Appleton 12. And the reason I'm not using Appleton 12 is I don't have a bottle right now, and I'm recommending too much Jamaican stuff as is. So, aged blended rum, Doorleys is a perfectly good example. But you should, and if you are a little bit bolder, you might also consider this. Hamilton 114, the so-called Navy Strength. This is a blend of Guyanese, mostly column distilled rum, and Jamaican pot still rum, and I think this might be the best aged. I can't say aged, can I? Because I'm pretty sure the Worthy Park is unaged, but dark rum you can buy for under $30. Very good stuff. By the way, please stop using the categories of white rum, gold rum, dark rum. Get precise with what the hell they're doing to their rum, please. Okay. Moving on. You should buy a big old pot still, more funk-driven monster. That's also molasses based. And since you cannot get the Hamden Overproof anymore, we're waiting on the new one. I'm going to recommend this, the Hamden Younger Arak 5-year-old, which is not terribly expensive. It seems to be relatively available, at least in along the coasts and in Chicago, and it's just a really good example of an aged pot still rum. We will be getting to the unaged stuff in a second, but everything Hamden makes is really, really good and worth your time and investment and money. This is we're not pressing the outer limits of funk on this one, but it'll give you some sense of where you can go from there. You should also buy a cane juice based rum of some kind, just to know. And I'm going to recommend Naison Blanc from Martinique, because I like them. There's lots and lots of options here. BL is fantastic. The little Duquesne is pretty good. Rum Jam is fine. I just happen to like Naison. Now again, speaking to the whiskey people, you are going to be tempted to buy the oak aged versions of these, and I will tell you right now, I don't think, well, with the exception of a couple of French cask aged ones, I don't really think they're that great. Avoid the bourbon barrel ones. They just end up tasting like American whiskey, which you know already. So yeah, buy an unaged one, just to know what it is, and to discover how awesome tea punches are. If you want to buy yourself an aged cane juice based rum, I advise you to get something that's been in French oak. Nissan makes a nice one, and also you might consider Barbancourt. This is the 15-year-old. The 8 is also very nice. Distilled, to a higher strength than this guy, so it tends to be a little bit more cask driven than the Nissans would be, but still absolutely worth your time and money. And it's just kind of great to have around the bar. Last up, you should probably, God help you, know a little bit about flavored / spiced rums. I don't really like most of them particularly very much. I think they're just too sweet. If I want to make a cocktail, God damn it, I'll make a cocktail. I don't need it, in a bottle there for me. However, because I'm sorry. I think there is some good to be done with the category, and if you want to have something lying around for mixing fun, for just throwing it into a Coke, I can think of none better than Old Monk. Old Monk, very old, vatted, triple X, 7-years old blended rum. This is not particularly good, and I still love it. And there are very few things in this world that take Coke better than Old Monk. So if you happen to be a college student watching this and you were looking for something under $20 to buy just for making Cuba Libres, consider Old Monk. It's I think there is some sugar added to this. In fact, I'm dead certain, but it's not very much. It's not as much as half the 90% of the other spiced rums on the market. By the way, if you want to make your own spiced rum, that's great, and the results will be 10 times better than what you can buy. But sorry, another footnote there. What Old Monk is really more about is the little extra flavors in there. There is a black licorice anisey thing going on in this that I really find kind of charming. Okay, so that's it. Those are the basics. Those are the ones I really think are worth grabbing and knowing. Just this, but the problem is this doesn't really give you even these, all of these don't really give you the sense of the full reach of quote unquote rum as a category. If you want to explore still further, there's everywhere to go. But here's 6 more options for you. We're just going to run through these real quick. First up, Arak. Arak from this is from Batavia, right? Arak is responsible for the first cocktail craze in Europe. This is not rum strictly speaking, because it is also, they use some red rice to get fermentation started, but the rest is pot distilled and cane based. So, and this is just really fun, wild stuff to have lying around the house. And oh, lovely nose. And if you want to make some stonkin' strong punch, this is a great thing to have. So important for education and also delicious. Very savory, that stuff. Also, if you want to continue on the direction of knowing just what cane is sort of like, grab a Claren. Grab a Claren. If you have to buy one, I would say go for Casimir here. I don't know if you can see that. If you can buy 2, and you should absolutely buy more than one, grab Sajus and Le Rocher, both from the Vellier range. And with Claren, you're talking about a whole range of styles, but they're basically cane juice and cane syrup based. They're doing a ton of different things, but the important thing is that they are wild fermented. They are made using the yeast that is just on the cane. So most of these back here they're pitching their yeast, right? They're picking particular strains that make the notes they like. It's just all about terroir. It is all about the environment and the microbiology going on in these, and they are absolutely fantastic. And again, because they're, well, again, white rum, do not sleep on white rum. It is the value category in the world for me right now. In addition to that, as long as we're talking about wild fermentation, actually the Hampden probably is not pitching their yeast, but they're controlling fermentation in other ways. If you want to get into a pot still rum that is a bit more aggressive, a bit more high ester, buy yourself a bottle of Rum Fire. Rum Bar Overproof completes the holy trinity of overproof rums, along with the Ray and Nephew here. But if you're going to buy like this, for under $30, this might be the most extraordinary and quality-driven product you can buy in a liquor store. So this is not only pot distilled molasses-based rum like this guy. It is pushing the esters way higher than this stuff is. It isn't even it isn't quite getting into the stratosphere. Like, we aren't at sort of, you know, crazy levels of funk. You can get there, but that's a different discussion. But this gives you some idea of what that is like. And again, $30 unaged. If you want to get in on hardcore rum on a budget, this is the way. This is the way. What else we got? So I'm happy to announce I have finally found a cachaça I like, and you should probably buy a cachaça because the aromatics on cachaças are absolutely wonderful, and caipirinhas are delicious. I like this one, the Bica do Alambic from Magnifica de Feria. You are going to have a heck of a time getting this in the U.S., but you know what? LeBlanc is fine. What is it? There are plenty of really nice entry-level cachaças under $30. I wait for someone to put out something at higher strength, but until then, if you can get this, do it. Cachaça is worth exploring. Oh, I should tell you. Also, cane juice based in the Portuguese slash Brazilian style. If you get a chance, you should also explore rum from Guyana, made on their wooden stills. I can think of very little better than going straight for a Port Moran. I mean, you can just go and buy the El Dorado 15, which will give you a really good sense of what that style is. But if you can try, you know, a Port Moran or a Versailles, they are absolutely worth it. Again, heritage stills made out of wood, completely unlike any other, you know, distillery setup in the world. So, you know, they are absolutely worth trying and exploring. So Guyanese Demerara wooden pot distilled rum. And there's so much stuff beyond that. I'm a little bit in love with Colombian rum right now, to be honest. More on that in a little bit. But, you know, if I had to pick one other thing to sort of round out this set of, 12 we got going on here, I would pick, let's hope I don't knock this over, Tyrande from Michoacan in Mexico. Europan does make an upper level Tyrande, the Agricola, they're calling it, which is absolutely worth exploring. But this might be the... So I really think every bar, home bar or professional bar in the world, needs to provide an argument as to why this is not their rail rum. Like, this is just so good for cocktailing. It has some elements that are more like, you know, Nason. It's a little bit sort of grassy, grapefruity. But then there's other elements, but it's also got a mix of column distilled molasses-based stuff in there, so it provides a little bit of, you know, whipped cream, desserty quality. It is so versatile, and it is absolutely worth running out and grabbing a bottle of this. And that's my lineup. So again, these are the basics. These are the ones I would say will function pretty well as an introduction to rum in general, but even then, it's inadequate, and you got to keep learning. You got to go try some more new stuff. That's all I got. Hope that was interesting and educational and not too ranty. And hopefully one of these days, liquor stores will begin to put up the extra signs and the extra divisions and start putting the dosed stuff, the flavored stuff, off in their own little section, like we do with other categories. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and cheers.